In this presentation, we will explain how our team went through the design cycle to construct our hovercraft in preparation for Fed Day. The steps that we took to complete the design cycle includes preliminary research, hovercraft design, prototyping the design, and finally testing the hovercraft until we had a finished product. First, we researched the history of hovercrafts. We looked at different hovercrafts made in previous projects. We then had to figure out how to use the different electronic parts such as servos, receivers, speed controllers, and motors.
For the design of our hovercraft, based on our team's research, I sketched out a blueprint that was a blend of hovercraft models. Fortunately, because this blueprint was a blend of multiple hovercraft models, it was way too heavy, and the fans in the back were not powerful enough to push the hovercraft forward. So we ended up modifying the hovercraft design, and we essentially took the skeleton of the first hovercraft design to make it lighter.
During the first test, our structure had 3 layers of foam board and a huge skirt. At this point, we hadn't mounted the motor, so you can see me holding the motor on top of the hovercraft. For the second test, we removed all but 1 layer of foam board and secured the motor, battery, and receiver to the hovercraft.
Awesome!
The final test took place at Fed Day with our completed hovercraft. You can see the green LED case fans and the moving rudder on the back. The craft hovers and only needs a small push to glide across the table.
It's good that we're doing this now. We can use the roller.
This is kind of way because the fans.
I see. And then you can drag it around. Okay. And we have everything to
Because our hovercraft could not move in any direction, it couldn't complete the Fed Day challenge of moving across the track. We still felt like we did okay by successfully making the hovercraft hover, and we still learned a lot about how hovercrafts work. The hovercraft looks pretty cool too.
We could do this project over. We would have planned more before buying our first materials. On our first trip out, we just went to Target and bought a fan there on clearance, and that turned out to be useless. So we also wouldn't have bought our case cooling fans that we put on the back of the hovercraft because it wasn't powerful enough to push the whole thing forward. So basically it took too long for us to realize what kind of fans were powerful enough to lift the hovercraft and push, its own weight plus the weight of the Hovercraft, so neither of those fans worked. Our advice for next year's teams would probably be to start early and learn everything you can about your materials. Everything, especially the difference between brushed motors and brushless motors. Also, local hobby stores are a really great resource. They have what you need, and the staff members are very knowledgeable, and they're always ready to help and just talk to you about your project. However, keep in mind that hobby stores are expensive, and you can find better prices for the same materials on Amazon or another website. And so that's why we were saying start early, because you need to leave time for all of the materials to get to you in the mail.